open?
Should now. Oh, hold on. It's... Should be that. Yeah, it's ETH. Alright. Last time, guys. And then I'm calling it a night. And I'm going to spend the rest of the night uninstalling XSplit and figuring out OBS Studio. Because I'm not doing that again.
So now it's good. As long as it doesn't black out again, we're good.
Yeah, so sorry for this technical issues. Two things have occurred. One, we had a good mic working the other night, but I updated XSplit to its latest version. Did it go out again?
No, it was working. You just swore right before it went live.
Oh, did I?
You dropped an F-bomb.
Nice.
They're like, yep, heard that. Good job.
I mean, this is a crap show. I mean... So, I update XSplit. It's been out since December 11th, and I keep hitting no every time I go into it. So today I go ahead and say, you know what, I'm going to go ahead and update it, let it update, make sure the mic is good to go. I did some internal testing locally, and everything went good. The second I started streaming, it just started crashing. So, XSplit, whatever update you did, it's crap, and now I'm going to be downloading OBS Studio after this, and I'll spend half my afternoon tomorrow, after I'm done with my normal job, figuring out OBS Studio so I don't have to deal with that crap anymore, because I know most of the streamers use OBS Studio, but I thought I would get some better features with XSplit, and it looks like it's not this is a crap. It should never crash. That's just ridiculous to me. So, figure your stuff out. I mean, jeez. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. Well, you know, I use a Rode directional like shotgun mic on the camera, which is about 7-8 feet away from me, and sometimes people say that's kind of echoey being in a basement like this. So I figured, you know, why not have something I could just move over like this and, you know, have a more professional sound. So, you know, and it's not like I went with the cheapest mic here. I mean, this is the Audio Technica. It's their higher end version. So I wanted to have a nice crisp sound, but evidently, you know, out of the box setup and stuff is not as easy as it's claimed to be. So we will go ahead and go on without it. So that's going to be some fun editing for this video in the beginning of it. The first video, hopefully I can delete, and then this one I can kind of edit appropriately. So, and note to self, if you're going to do an update before a stream, it's probably a bad idea. Probably shouldn't do that. Probably should do it after the stream and then have some time to fix it out. So let's get into this. So we've already wasted more than enough time. We're 28 minutes in. That took 28 minutes? Are you freaking kidding me? What a disaster. Sorry for that. Looks like I'm watching Nicehash reboot on this machine. That's great. So a couple things I wanted to do today. I wanted to take, before we wrap this up and this went off to be in a server room somewhere. I wanted to take everybody through the MSI, with these Titanium 1070 Ti's. You've seen it a few times with the Rosewill build, but we never got into like actually showing it run with like something like Nicehash. A lot of people ask me about Nicehash, how it runs with that. And then looking at something like putting different algorithms on it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to give this thing a reboot because this thing's been running these little testing for Nicehash here. We're going to give it a fresh reboot, set some settings up. We'll switch the screen over. We're going to take it through some algorithms. I think this is some of the best GPUs out there right now. It's a little higher cost. You can get better cost-effective solutions in mining. But right now, if you can get your hand on some of these 1070 Ti's, they're pretty amazing from all the limited testing that I've done with them. The 1075 Ti in general is really kind of a really nice solution, especially if you can get it in the 450 to 480 range. We'll give this a reboot and then we'll get into it. But I've had these for about a week and a half, 2 weeks. You know, this is running with the top off because it does not fit with on this case here. This is the kind of setup that we have right here. When this kind of goes on, you kind of just about 1.5 inches too short. So I did have this rolling like this overnight, and it was kind of completing what it's supposed to with regards to channeling air pretty well, but in reality I'm just leaving the top off of it and letting them cool. The 1070s cool pretty well themselves, and the spacing's pretty good. So we'll get into this now. 213 people, welcome. Sorry about that little issue that we had with the sound. Let's get this switched over and let's check out some algorithms. So the very first one that we're going to do is with Nicehash. I cannot tell you how many times I get emails from people asking about Nicehash. And I think it's because the barrier of entry is very simple for folks to get into it. If you do have 1 or 2 cards and you don't want to get into trying to configure anything, it's pretty simple to set up. I mean, you download it and install it, let it run its test, and then essentially you're off to mining. You give it a Bitcoin address and you're going to be getting exchanged in Bitcoin for your mining rig doing its thing. So I will show you kind of the Nicehash performance on it real quick. And then we'll get into running the BBT multi-miner on it. And let me get to where I can see what I'm switching to. Here we go. Add that over. So this is the desktop. Oh, hold on. Make sure that you guys can they hear me right now with this? Because I don't know if I configured the sound on this view. Yeah, it looks like it should be. Let me know if you can't hear me, since I had to configure all this. It might work or it might not, who knows. We're gonna run the MSI Afterburner just to make sure what settings we have running here. We're going to set this to 100 at 700. And we'll see what we got here with Nicehash real quick. Now the settings on this build I do have in the below. We're running an i3 7100. As you can see here, settings 7100, 4 gigs of memory. I'm only running 4 gigs in this, and then you can see the 6 1070 Ti's. So we can go ahead and try to hit start on this. Let's just see what this thing starts to run. It looks like it failed on one probably from the settings we have set up. Yeah, we're getting illegal operations here. Let's take this down some. Take this down to 625, 50. Let's bring this down to 75 on the memory. So we're just trying some basic settings out for Nicehash, and then we'll get into some more forensic setting this up.
Can you give a brief overview of what MSI Afterburner is?
MSI Afterburner allows you to modify the core and memory settings on the GPU from its base setting. All of the various 1070 Ti's that are out on all of the vendors, all the branded packages. You're talking MSI, Zotac, Power Color, well, not Power Color, Power Color is only AMD, EVGA, all of the different versions of the 1070 Ti's all have the same core and memory clock. They just have different solutions when it comes to the distribution of heating and cooling with regards to the different heat sinks that are on there. There's triple fan, dual fan solutions, some with backplates, some without backplates. And then there's a range of different memory options that come with that you do not know what you run into. It's really kind of what you end up getting the silicon lottery on. But each of the GPUs overclock a little differently. Some of them have a little better power efficiency when you buy a 1070 Ti. So I say go for the cheapest one you can find. But there are some gems out there. And I mean, we're looking right here right now with Nicehash for folks that are just looking into trying to get some BTC. And it looks like this rig alone right now, they're earning about $26, $27 a day, which is pretty decent, but everything's up right now. So a lot of the altcoins are doing very well. So a lot of people are spending some money on moving some hash power right now. I don't even know why I'm sitting here by this mic right now. Some folks moving some hash power, renting other people's hash power, and that's really what Nicehash lets people do. I don't personally use it. I mean, you can see there, that's my open balance right now, and that's mostly from testing when people want to test. If anybody watched any of our videos a few weeks back, that was about the same balance. So we don't use Nicehash, but some people are asking what a rig like this would be putting out. And you're looking at anywhere, and I've seen that as high in the last week, the few testing that we've done, I've seen that as high as $36. It just is really predicated on what people are renting at the time in equivalent. But right now, this a 6-card rig like this, putting out about $30 a day is not too bad at all. You're looking at, in 10 days, that's $270. In a month, you're looking at, a single rig like this, almost $800 is a really good return for one rig. So on Nicehash like that, not bad at all. If you're wanting just to get to BTC. Now, there's various ways to make money in mining if you mine specific coins, and those coins take huge leaps. Anybody that was following kind of what we were mining a few months ago with Ubic's really paid off for the folks that were mining it. Right now, almost $6. I think it hit 6 for a little bit. And if you do the math of what you'd have been mining during the time that we were mining it a few months back, you were earning, 30, 40 Ubic, maybe even 60 Ubic a week. At $6 is pretty good return versus the other stuff that was out there at the time. So that's the kind of stuff that we're talking about when we're talking about mining. Sometimes it's not about the most profitable coin, it's about the one that you believe in and that you believe will grow in value because of the research that you've done. And hedge your stuff. So some people that want to mine just Bitcoin, which you do through selling your hash power, if you have GPU rigs, this is how you would earn Bitcoin. A lot of people ask, well, can you mine Bitcoin? No, you can't mine Bitcoin, but you can mine through something like Nicehash. Now you pay a sizable fee that's taken out of what you're mining right now, and I think it's about 9%. It may have went up of what your total output is. So you're looking 9 to 12% after exchange fees and stuff of everything that you mine is being gobbled up in fees. But something like this is still a pretty nice rate of return if you're just wanting to get Bitcoin. So this is your performance on these 6 1080 Ti's. The output from the power side, you can see right here, we're running a lot higher. It's about 905 on the power, and you're going to see this come down quite a bit when we start tweaking some of the settings in MSI Afterburner, especially when we start really looking at specific coins and algorithms that we're going to be looking at. But you're looking at about 905 watts right now. We can try to tweak that why Nicehash is up. Nicehash is a little flaky sometimes when you start messing with clocks when it's running. I did feed it a little more core clock just because Nicehash sometimes goes, it looks at the type of cards that you have, and then it will predicate what it's going to mine because it's benchmarked all of these cards against all the different currencies. So then it looks at what is probably the best output for this particular rig. So right now with the settings that we have, it right now, which one is it mining? It is looks like it's mining equal hash, which isn't too bad, kilohash. There is chances that it'll jump over to Zcash. It may jump over to some other currencies, depending what. It really comes down to what people are wanting to buy hash power for. But you know, giving it a little extra core clock, a little higher memory, really helps if it's going to switch between different algorithms. You're going to want to have the best of both worlds. I did not lower the power. Normally, what I have the power out on these cards are 65. And I'm going to change the lock on the temps there, bring those up. Let's apply. Let's see what we can get the power down to without it crashing Nicehash, and then we'll go into the other. Right now we're at 906. Oh, we lost the chat. Yeah, and then hit the drop down there. Nope, 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 down. One more. There you go. Is it going? Yeah, there it goes. Sorry, we had to restore that chat. That's XSplit doing its favor for us. I am going to have fun configuring OBS Studio, I think, to cut my ties with them. Let's see, did we drop this, I don't know why I haven't it plugged into this kilowatt, because this kilowatt's slow as hell. Does not refresh that power very quickly. But us dropping that to 65 should drop it down below 850 watts of power usage. You can see we've ran this rig for 8 days so far. I've been trying to keep track of the power usage. Just on this particular rig, it's ran for 8 days. It's used $16.73 in power. So that gives you kind of a benchmark. Reading some of the comments there. Yeah, it looks like it is stabilizing around $27. So I was trying to hold Nicehash here until that dropped, but it doesn't look like it's dropping right now. So we're gonna hit stop here. Pause that out. Yeah, there it goes. So there was the delay. So we knocked it down from 900 to 791 when we dropped it to 65 on the power rating. And that's really kind of the setting that I'd want to keep it at, which you can see that drops this rig pretty significantly. Makes it a lot more cost per performance. I'm going to kick that back on for one more second here and see if we can maintain that for a second. Sebastian's asking, do you think Bitcoin will crash? No. Point blank, no. I think that there will be market manipulation, will continue, but I think personally, in following it for so long, at the end of the day, everybody understands in the space, at least from that's been there for a while, understands what Bitcoin is from an evolutionary standpoint. It is the very first one. It has the biggest footprint of any currency in any space. It has the largest name recognition, and it is a limited supply. So you're going to see a lot of FUD You're going to see a lot of people that are trying to do technical analysis on it that have no understanding on its utility benefits, its store of value benefits, its rarity piece. They're looking at it very linear through a very short-sighted view of what its value is.
Scoot MSI over there, Msi.
The who?
The MSI Afterburner video.
Oh.
Window. They can't see it all.
There you go. Should be able to see it now. What is it mining right now that's more profitable? Let's see here. Blake. So right now, so this is the thing about Nicehash is depending what people rent and depending for how much and depending on your rig, you will get burst of high dollar output of your rig. And sometimes you'll get lower output. So I'm like, I could look at this in an hour from now and it says $18. But right now this rig is earning $46 a day equivalent, which is a pretty nice rate of return on any 6 card rig. This is really where I like the 1070 Ti's, just from an output standpoint. They have a very high output and they use very low amounts of power. As you can see right here, and I'll switch over to this for a second. That 783 is its complete power output right now, running this setup, and we'll see that in this other in the other algorithms as I get off a Nicehash here in a second and let you guys see the actual output. So we're gonna shut down Nicehash for a cool minute. Shut that down, minimize it. Oh, stop that. Close. Take this 675. We're gonna leave that there. And let's go ahead and get into the BBT multi-miner. Now I'm going to be updating this. This is still 5.7. There have been tons of contributions out there on the BBT multi-miner. I've watched over the last few weeks as vacation and everything that's been going on. And I am going to be reviewing those this week, and we'll be putting out a new fresh version of the multi-miner, incorporating a lot of the changes people have requested and have contributed code to, in addition to adding additional mining pools out there for everybody. And we're going to be updating here. So right now, let's go ahead and go into this is 5.7. These are the settings we're going to go with right now. We're going to leave the core where it's at. You'll see that I've ran -50 on the core and +50, and it doesn't affect the ETH performance too much when it comes to the power. The power limit and limiting the card really is the deciding factor there on actual power output. So let's start very first with ETH performance. So number 3 on the multi-miner takes you to ETH. We will go to option 33. Blueberry's out there. Option 33, hodl pull for Ubik. Has been a strong runner for anybody mining Ubik. So here's some settings right now. We're showing the system idle. Anybody looking at system idle right here? That's the system idle. About 32 watts on this system. 32 watts right now being used. This has an EVGA 1200 P2 power supply. And there is your ETH performance. I'll tell you what, let's do display settings. This might or might not crash. Let's see, sometimes when you start messing with Windows display, it may give me a little freak out here. I'm going to try to increase that for you guys to see. So we're looking at about almost 32 a card, 191. This is 6 cards. And you're going to see this switch here in a second. This thing runs about a 30-second delay on the power. Epicenter Gaming gave a super chat here asking any advice on the new NVIDIA cards coming out soon. With lots of us adding GPUs and growing our farms, should we wait or keep adding 1070s, 1080s? So nobody knows when Volta actually is going to come out. There's some speculation that it's going to come out. Some of the first initial cards may come out in into February in through March as they start to ship. Given the testing that we did with the Titan V, if that's the Volta architecture, then I think that there's going to be some serious competition for AMD when it comes to the mining scene. But that's if the architecture, if they're going to go with that level of architecture over to the main core cards. You know, right now, if you do the math on it, if there's a huge change, like if the 1080 or the 1180 Ti's are equivalent to the Titan V or close to it, that's a pretty sizable increase. It's almost a 50% increase in current hash power. It almost have the feeling of waiting, but I've never told people to try to wait on mining. I think if you have an opportunity at cheap 1070s or cheap GPUs, the month and a half in the best case scenario, if they come out, it's January 1st right now. Let's say in the best case they come out February 15th. That gives you 6 weeks of mining. 6 weeks of mining is halfway through your ROI on those initial cards. So, and that's on a 3-month ROI burn. And that's predicated on current pricing as it is right now. If crypto takes a lift of 40-50%, which it could easily in this first quarter of this year, I think there's going to be a lot of excitement coming into March with it. It would be advantageous to have the equipment now because that's all predicated that you're going to be able to get GPUs. We're going to be able to get GPUs. Anybody's going to be able to get GPUs on the new Volta, especially if it's mining hard. You're going to see a lot of that being scooped up by big vendors. So I say right now, it's if it was right around the corner and we were like looking at it like within the next month guaranteed, I would say it might be worth the wait. But right now, guys, I mean, with the way mining is, I would just say if you have an opportunity to buy cheap GPUs, don't buy overpriced GPUs right now. It's not worth it. But if you can find some good deals over the last like 6 months worth of pricing, then it might be worth getting into it if you're on the fence right now. But just waiting, it could be times that you could be running cycles. So hopefully that answers your question. So right now we're looking at 31 and a half here, and you're looking at, look at the power there. There's your power. You're at 774 power. Now on ETH we could try to drop this to negative 100 on the core. I don't think it's going to matter that much because it actually doesn't drop the power too much. So we're at 774. Let's see what the core drop there does. I know if I drop this to 60, it will drop that mega hash quite a bit. You can try 725 on the memory. So there's 725 on the memory. Now, from my initial testing with this works for a while, but I was getting a error on one of the GPUs every once in a while. I'd show a bad share saying it was overclocked, too high. I think it was on GPU 4 or GPU 3. So right now, 32.2 mega hash on these. We're rolling a little more power because of that bump in the clock. We're still under 800 watts though. 800 watts for 193 mega hash. So that's on ETH, not bad performance. Bring that down. I'm going to bring this down to 700. We're going to flip this around. We're going to give this a 75. There's a power starving it for some Zcash. So you guys can see the settings I'm using right there. Some Zcash on hodl pool. Getting lots of accepts there.
You're running these on regular 110 volt, not the 240, right?
This is 110, standard 110 right now. Holo's reporting every share. Let's do Zcash on 21. Nano. I'm DDoSing you. Yeah, the variable difficulty was set so low as I'm surprised I wasn't DDoSing you. There we go. So there's some output for you on those. So we're looking right there. These actually, if we play around with some settings here, we can get it down to almost to 4.0 across the souls for watts. But right now we're at almost 500. So for 6 cards, almost 3,000 souls. We have a few that are 500. We need a little more clock to push that over. Try 70 here. See if we're starving it too much. Carlos Hernandez, I see your question. What do I think about Zcash growth in the first quarter? I mean, I think everything in general is going to get a good lift just because there's more and more exposure and more infrastructure getting into place for people to be able to purchase. Part of the whole mechanism of the space in general is that not only the ability for people to speculate, is part of that supply of being able to be purchased by people wanting to purchase cryptocurrency. I think a couple huge things are going to come out in 2018. One of them is the fact that ETF, once an ETF gets approved, if one gets approved here in 2018, the sky is the limit across at least the top 25, 30 coins. Just because those, when money gets invested at that kind of scale or that kind of opportunity with the ETFs, one of the things that come with that is they have to take ownership of coins. It's not just that they can speculate on the coin value. They actually have to take ownership of it as part of a fund. So that means they have to purchase the coin, and you have a supply thing. So looking at that, that's going to come when it comes with Bitcoin. Bitcoin rising, the sea rises all boats. It doesn't necessarily have a direct correlation to the BTC versus the coin value, but if BTC is very high, even a coin that has it's worth 50 satoshis, something like Doge, if BTC is 200, or 25,000, 40,000, $50,000 BTC price, makes that conversion to 50, 60 satoshi, even at that level, worth more. So it brings everything up. It's just what's relative to where you spend in your BTC on coins, and then your coins didn't grow at the same point. So with BTC growing and with more facets being able to get connected to buy, or more facilities being able to get connected to buy BTC, is going to lift everything regardless of the play on the coin itself. So from that perspective alone, the coins have a good opportunity to do a huge lift. Now, if you look at the technology separated from the security standpoint, you got, I know there's some questionable stuff with XVG, but you got XMR, you got Zcash. If Zcash and Ripple and a few of the other ones get listed on something like Coinbase, I know a lot of people have a lot of hate towards Coinbase right now. I can't wait to see if they have competition come out in 2018 to where there's an easy place to purchase the coin for people that don't want to mine. That's your other counterparty. We are producers, those people are buying. So I think the outlook is very good in the space just because the infrastructure is getting put into place for it. So you can see that change that we made there on Zcash. We are getting a little more efficiency now. We did drop wattage by dropping it down to 70. We did drop some of the hash power though. We have a few cards kind of slacking, 445 or 441, 465, a few that are setting there a little higher, holding a little better. We can try 65 here. I think this will just drop it more. It's not all about, well, I mean, so their fees on Coinbase kind of suck, but you can get into GDAX for a lot cheaper if you do wiring. It all comes down to, guys, I see the hate with Coinbase. I mean, there's a lot of issues with Coinbase I've had personally, but if you take the issues aside and you look at just from a facility standpoint for individuals that do not know a lot about the space, have researched enough about the space to want to put money into it, where do they buy? Where do they buy that's not complicated? Right now, Coinbase is it, unfortunately. Right? So there's harder, as more places like Poloniex applying for what they're doing now, they're going to require a lot more KYC information, know your customer stuff. When you have the facilitations in place for people to be able to buy currencies, you're going to see huge lists in it because people are trying to buy. Right now, a lot of people are on the sidelines because they don't know how to buy. So this is good if you're a producer of currency. If you're a contributor with your mining hash power and you're a producer and you're trying to sell to a counterparty, you want the facilitation out there. So having better access to more people trying to move fiat into cryptocurrencies is a good thing. Yeah, unfortunately, Coinbase isn't available in every country. So what it comes down to is what is available. I've asked a lot of people from their different perspectives of how they get into cryptocurrency, how they switch it around. Right now, Coinbase is the easiest for us. However, there are other places coming in to where you can get it. Anybody that's ever tried to use a Bitcoin ATM understands the fee structures on that suck. You think Coinbase sucks, try to use an ATM. Looks like we're improving the efficiencies here on this. We're at 450. So almost 4 across the board. I mean, the TIs are just some good stuff. I think these only had about a 175 limit.
SMOS, that's CMOS, right?
Yeah, Simple Mining OS.
Simple Mining OS. Can it support 14 1070s on a B250 board?
14? No. I can support 13. Now we're trying with, let's take this up to 72. Let's feed it some more power that we're feeding it more core. Did get the efficiency a little better. So now that we're feeding it, not starving it, it's getting a little better on the soul. So I mean, this thing's almost a 3,000 soul rig. You did see us bump up though about almost 100 watts by jumping that to 72. So the thing about the TIs are, you can get there around. There we are. We're almost at 23, and that's the reciprocation of the 175 core here. See if we can get 200 core out of them. We're going to take this to 70 even. What we're trying to do is get 4 across the board on the souls per card and 3,000. If we can achieve that, then I think these are pretty solid, a pretty solid setup for this. I have not heard of Hive OS. Well, Hive OS, if we're talking about the distro from Genesis, I have heard of that one. What do you guys use to manage multiple rigs? Is Simple Mining OS the way to go? Simple Mining OS is the way to go if you're looking at like under 30 rigs. If you're looking at more than that, then there's a few other alternatives that, with regards to just setting your own setup up. I mean, you really look at it. If you're in 30 rigs, that's $2 per rig. Now you're looking at $60 a month. It's not too bad of an issue. But you're going to be spending some money on paying per rig on that. So I mean, I've told folks that if you're running 30 rigs or lower, you know, Simple Mining's probably the easiest because you can sit there and change settings, reboot rigs on your phone. In addition, you can get the rig resetter from him and have the hardware support to reboot the rig for you if you can't get there. Yeah, we've been, for folks that are, we'll let that run for a second and see if we can hold it stable. We've been producing some more of these. We're going to be putting some of these out on our site, guys. A lot of people have been asking about them. Nice and clean, fresh and new. Mining rig cases, you can see how rigid they are. I mean, these things ain't moving anywhere. They're very rock solid. These are 8-card designs. Actually, you could get a little more than 8 cards on this, depending which card you put on it. They are wide enough that if you have the smaller cards, you can put them on both sides. And they go to about so. You can offset these, and you can get 10 cards on one of these. We will have, depending on which ones you buy, we will cross drill the holes for you before. But we're going to be putting these out on the site. We have more of them being built. A lot of people have been asking us for those. They are not painted. We can get them painted if you want them painted. Or signed. If people really want me to sign them, I will sign them for you. But they are very well constructed. It's 1x3 pine. Bart the Tech, if you had $14K to invest right now, what would you do? Would it be buy coins? If so, which coins? Or would you buy rigs? I've always told people to hedge both, man. I mean, the rig is a gift that keeps on giving. That's the thing about a rig. So like something like this rig, you're looking, I mean, these are kind of more expensive cards. The titaniums are right at $500. So you're looking, you know, $500 a card. You're looking at a case that's 100, 150, depending when Amazon wants to sell it for 100. Sometimes they sell them for 150. All the components in general, you're looking at about $4,000. Right under $4,000, probably $3,800 to $4,000 for a setup like this. This is an expensive setup. It's more of a premium setup. You can get rigs all the way down to $2,000 of that 14. You know, put a couple into rigs and just let them run. Mine the coins that you're not gonna, you know, just readily go out and buy. Then purchase some coin. You know, hedge it. Spread out that 14 in multiple things. You're gonna have some things that are gonna perform well. You're gonna have some things that are probably gonna be meh. And then you're going to have a rig that's just producing coins for you. You just don't have that quick lift. Like if you bought a coin and then it takes a 50% increase, you just double your money. The rig is more of a kind of a long-term burn, but you can stack some currency if you're not trying to get your money right back out of it and then go long on it. I always tell people if you get into rigs, you know, you're looking at a 2-year commitment. That's how long that if you buy a rig, I mean, you might get your ROI in 4 months, but get it to where you don't need to have that money right away and store some of it. You know, you can cash out some if you take a big hit or if it's a big lift. But rigs are one of those things that if you've had for a couple of years, I mean, I have people that got into Ethereum mining in September of 15 that done very well with their rigs, right? I had people that got into March of 16 and mined through November of 16 and got out. And November of 16, coins weren't worth that much. They were $7, but they had 300 or 400 that they had made off of 2 rigs, right? They had 300 or 400 Ethereum coins that were made off of 2 rigs. Think about that. We'll keep saying that. And they held. And then Ethereum took a big lift, and they still held. And when it hit like 350 in May, they sold some because they wanted to pay off their rigs and take some profits, right? But they still kept a majority of those coins. And then here we are now coming into 18, and they still are holding that. And right now, Ethereum's what, almost $900? You know, on those 300 extra coins. I mean, they sold like 38 of them, so they have 300 coins and 900 piece off of 2 rigs. This is the kind of stuff that we're talking about. This is a very minimal amount of people get into mining. And most that get into mining run about 3 months and they go, this isn't worth it, and they table flip and say, I hate that dude that told me to get into mining, because they try to sell their coins right away, or they sold at the wrong time. There's all kinds of situations that people do because it's just the way things work. And it's no hit on anybody. It's sometimes you need to sell because it's like, shit, you did it on a credit card and you need to pay it off, and you're just in this like spiral down. But it's all about if you're holding coin and then that coin takes a good lift. You know, it's like any other gamble too. I mean, everything could go south if there's huge amounts of regulation. Some bad stuff happens. Some bad actors in the system exploit people's, stuff and impact people in a negative way. And now you have all this regulation that kind of, sours it for everybody. There's a lot of things that could happen in the ecosystem. However, there's a lot of positive growth too in the ecosystem. A lot of investment in the ecosystem, more so than there ever has been. So anybody getting into it that it has a minor investment, it's always good to hedge it. Few rigs, few coins. Get into it. You could get into future trading. You could do other investments with it. So just hedge it out. I don't think you'll ever go wrong with having at least 1 rig or 2 rigs at least. To mine those coins that pop up, Boltwork, there's all kinds of different coins that come up. Electronium, I know a lot of people have mined a lot of Electronium, and it's at like 9 cents or something right now. Maybe Electronium hits $2 at some point in its life, right? And you've mined 30,000 with 1 rig. You can get into those situations. It's about stacking those coins up and then seeing, you're a producer. Don't feel bad about producing, and don't feel bad about when you need to take a profit. There's no difference. This is a digital cornfield, and sometimes when the bushels are high, you want to sell and take some profit. So that's, I guess, a quote of 2018, the digital cornfield. Reading some of your guys' comments. Okay, let's get back to this thing. Enough on me. Let's get back on this rig. So it's been holding. The main thing I wanted to do is I wanted to talk through that anyways. I wanted to see at these settings, can we hold this setting? So right there is where you're at. If you have 1070 Ti's, right there, 70 on the power limit, 200 on the core, 625 on the clocks there. We probably could drop these a little more, and it probably would help it, because Zcash doesn't need that much. Let's go down to 200. See if we can drop that power a little more. At 829 right now. I don't think that's representative of that. We'll see. Still almost 500 a pop. Yeah, and ROI depends on where you're at and what you got the cards for too. I'm seeing some of the discussion about how long ROI takes. I've personally helped several people around my area that I know that wanted to get into rigs and buy rigs, and they got in right at the peak. They bought it at essentially the peak in June, July, They seen the big run up. They wanted to buy some rigs, even paying the higher price on the cards. And essentially, in the time since, I'm looking at a scenario where I had 4 rigs sold. Those 4 rigs put out about 750 mega hash equivalent. The entire investment was about 16 grand. That 16 grand investment paid itself off finally in December. And in that, 3 things were mined. Ubik was mined for at least a month, and about 13 to 1800. No, it was 1800. 1800 Ubik was mined in about almost 6 weeks, and then the rest of it was Ethereum, and it was about 17 Ethereum. So the 17 Ethereum plus the 1800 Ubik, well more than paid for that investment, and it really came paid for once Ubik really jumped up. So that was the ROI. It happened in early December, before Ubik really took its run. So that took about 6 months, and that was the reason why that took 6 months. Primarily was because the price of GPUs at the time were very elevated. So it's realistic to see, if you're looking at the calculators online, that you could as much as double what that calculator is telling you, right? That's the realities of mining, is it could take literally 2 times what that calculator is. And it isn't because that calculator is incorrect, because at the time it is correct when it says the network difficulty times the actual amount of hash power, or in the network difficulty versus how much the coin is worth at that current point in time. It's a snapshot. It's not forecasting you network growth or anything. So the volatility of the price, the volatility of the network difficulty all play into that, and you can take different snapshots in time to see your different profitability levels. So if you have a 50% network growth and price stays flat, your time just took almost double. So it's highly predicated on that. But by and large, if you plan for 6 months on an ROI on most builds, that it's probably a safer bet, and then hope that the few coins that you're able to mine right now are worth a lot more. And it's kind of like a reverse mortgage, or like a reverse amortization loan, like where the first few coins is where you're making most of your money, because as more people get on, you're going to get less and less of the coin, but it's going to be worth more. And that's been kind of the story with most coins in general. And it looks like that dip in the memory clock did really much of nothing for us from the power standpoint. So I think that's about all we got on Zcash. Let's take a look. Let's get this back up to 6.25 at least. Let's take a look at some other stuff. Komodo. Now, some of these may not be compatible with the core settings that we have. ROI in 6 weeks. Well, ROI in 6 weeks, if you find the right coin at the right time and you find the counterparty to buy it at the right time, you might be able to get that six week ROI. There's your Komodo speed right there at 3,000 with Komodo. We got a 4.0 across the board. I mean, these cards are really good. I really like these MSIs. They stay pretty cool in this kind of build where you got the triple fans and the pulling the air in, and the 580 millimeters blowing it out. Doing very well. So Komodo on this build does 3,000. Let's look at some Monero. Monero, we're probably gonna, I do not have the NVIDIA Monero miner on this one. Hold on real quick, let me switch over to this. I think I have that. Look at your guys's. Can we see some dual mining? Yes, we will do some dual mining. I will show you some dual mining on it. Yeah, imagine if we clock up a little more or feed it some more power, Lotron, we can probably get 520 out of the TIs, but I don't know how stable that will be. What I try to shoot for isn't just like, it's like revving a Ferrari and just hammering down. It's great that it'll do that speed, but you can't maintain it. Mining's about maintaining it, and if you can find a good setting that you can maintain, it's worth its weight. We're doing is copying version 5.6.2. Now I am going to fix this and have the NVIDIA XMR miner included in the 5.8 version. I believe it's number 18 on 5.6.2. Let's look here. It is 18. So let's see what we get on XMR on this rig, if it actually works. Let's see. This is actually looks like it's only doing one GPU. I have to go, yeah, one GPU. So 669, not too hot. Like a 1080 Ti does like almost 800 hash. This does 667. I would have to go in and configure it to do multiple. Oh yeah, I need to actually be on this screen. So a single GPU is doing 669. Let's look here. On which one is that one? CUDA. I'm probably gonna have to edit the JSON. Yeah. I'm not gonna get into all that. We don't have time for that. So 668 times 6. If we were to do that, is your math there. So about 30, almost 4,000 hashes. I mean, you wouldn't mine XMR on that just because. What was the power on that though? Oh, it was 122. It was about 100 watts per card. It's about 690 watts if all those were on that. That's your XMR speed. Let's do some dual mining real quick. So dual mining with SIA, ETH and SIA, which you wouldn't do, but we'll mine anyways. You would do this with AMD. Aaron W, love what you're doing. Learned so much. Thanks, bro. We're here to help. If you were to start a new rig this week, would you 1080 Ti's or wait for the new 11? I would not wait for the 11. I mean, the 11 could be amazing. We're speculating that it will be. We've seen the Volta with the Titan, but
you can find 1070s now, buy them now.
Yeah, if you can buy 1070s now, the time that the 1170s come out, and that you can actually put your hands on them, you may have already paid off that 1070 rig. So unless they were coming out next week, I would say hold off. But if you can, I would try to find the cheapest ones you can find. Find some people that are trying to sell maybe because they are winning the 1170, and just, you know, find the best opportunity you can there.
And if you're a beginning miner, you would suggest NVIDIA cards over AMD, right?
It's super predicated on what people want. I mean, so AMD cards is a commitment because you have to do BIOSes, and there's a lot more testing involved with doing AMD. It's a finicky setup. There's a few AMDs that come out and they're great. I haven't had a ton of issues with like the Power Color Red Devils, but then you get into like Sapphire Nitros. The pulses that I've been messing with the last few weeks have been very temperamental, let's just say, with all working together all the time. So I have to do a lot of customization to the actual scripts to run some cards at some speeds and some other cards at other speeds and some cards with different BIOSes. The NVIDIAs do not have that problem. So NVIDIA is probably the better, you know, if you like to have hair and you don't want to stress yourself out, you will pay a premium for them, but you will not have the troubles that come along. But it's hard to argue if you can manage the AMDs and you know how to go in and configure and just deal with it. You're going to get much more price per performance, but it's also predicated on how much downtime you have. There's some math problem there too. So if you have a lot of downtime with the AMDs, you're going to make more. You're going to make that gap on price, paying more for the NVIDIAs. So here on that dual mining, let's see what setting wise we're pretty much getting about the same thing. Richard Porter, like a boss, coming in with a 50 spot again. Quick question: do you have any other mining? Do you send any of your mining profits directly to Jax from a pool? The only one that I do, Richard, I do have Nano Pool pointed to my Jax wallet on ETC, Ethereum Classic. That's the one that I use just because at the time I didn't want to download a local wallet for ETC, as my I did not want to mess with anything with like my Ether wallet or any of that and have the wrong version. I just didn't want to manage it that way, so I do send ETC to Jax, and it works fine. And a lot of people do mine straight to Jax wallets. So it looks like performance is typical on dual mining, not spectacular, but it is nice. I mean, if you saw that, I mean, it was 830 watts. We were 700. You're looking at another 100 watts versus the baseline in your dual mining to SIA coin. There we can do Decred, which I think is 5. Here we go. You should get around the same performance level. A little more with the cred. So 310 per, and you're still at 108. I mean, we're at 31 mega hash. So I mean, bottom line, and we're looking at 830 watts here. So not dual mining, we were at 700 and some change. I mean, we're about 100 watts more full system in dual mining. I mean, bottom line, there's no reason not to dual mine right now on this NVIDIA card. I mean, you're going to be tossing 2,000 mega hash right now in this rig towards Decred. Now that'll take you a little bit. 2,000 mega hash isn't that much on Decred. You know, that's 2 gigahash, but it still will pay off an extra Decred. You know, about once every, I think what's that, about 1.8 Decred per month, something like that. What is that? Kumua?
Yeah. So where do you find bulk cards?
tired of the store runs. Yes. Why do we find bulk cards? So you guys can find bulk cards. So some of the lucky folks that have been trolling our site have been able to find the GPUs that we have listed on Amazon. We do make sure that we have those up to date all the time. I do have a mechanism that keeps them up to date to make sure that BBT, bitsbetripping.com has the links to Amazon. Some of those vendors that we make sure that we have on there have bulk orders, like the Sapphire Pulses that we used in the previous videos. Those were limit 30 per. So we try to ensure that I wish there was a way for me to list the ones that can accept bulk orders that way on the site, but right now there isn't. But there are other vendors out there, such as and we say it all the time, MA Labs out of Chicago, that you can bulk order through. You do have to set up an account with them. And I mean, you can make a partnership or an LLC or sole proprietorship pretty cheaply, and then route everything through that. If you're going to be buying GPUs in bulk, you should probably have set up a small LLC or something for yourself from a taxation standpoint. So being able to set up a small business and then route your purchases through MA Labs, well, they are a bulk provider. So if you come in there and say, I need X amount of AMD or whatever, they work with vendors to get stuff produced. So that is one of the companies you can list through to get stuff. I would be very cautious on doing a lot of stuff, bulk orders through AliExpress and that. There's just, I get emails from folks that have tried to do that and have they copy me on emails where they're arguing with the AliExpress people and they're just trying to give us spatial awareness of it. And I've had a handful, if not 2 handfuls, so more than 5 different people that have copied bitsbetripping@gmail.com their correspondence with vendors on Alibaba of just trying to give us a spatial awareness on it. So I would just say caution on ordering bulk from those vendors, and work through something like Manly, or not Manly, but work through something like MA Labs, because they are a wholesaler in bulk. Let's take a look. Try some Zen on HODL. Does 58 work? Oh, that's AMD only. That's going to go nope. No bueno. How about some Vertcoin? People want to see some Vertcoin? We are going to add Bulwark on NIST 5, I think on the 5.8 version. We will have that out there for you guys. We'll be wrapping this up here in the next 10 minutes or so. If you want to ask some more questions here, it looks like we're getting just over 40. Let's check some power on this. Pretty decent rate. Hush on 26 HODL pool is broken. I think that's actually fixed in 5.8. We've already looked at that. Somebody else reported that, but thank you, Married Corp, for saying that. $230. Still haven't seen the. I might have to get this plugged into the other kilowatt, because that is just not.
All of the hardware for this build is in the description, correct?
Yeah, Aaron W., the description has all the hardware that's in this. We'll get this thing going on another coin, and then I'll go to the full screen and I'll kind of show you guys some of the extra stuff we had to buy for it. Let's do some. Let's try some library credits. 27. let this sit there and cook on library for a second. Let's go back to main cam. So in this build, we have the 6 titaniums. This has an i3 7100. We actually did try out the BioStar TB250. It's been working great. I haven't had any issues with this one. It's the first board I have not had issues with. So it has been working fine. It is, again, the TB250. It is the 6 GPU version. So it's not the 12 GPU TB250 Pro from BioStar. Then we have 120 gig Samsung SanDisk solid state in there. I don't think that's actually in the description. I need to add that in the description. That's what Windows is running in. 120 gig is a minimum requirement if you're going to be doing a lot of mining, especially doing some of the coins that are like XMR, where they require huge virtual memory settings. 120 gig is like the bare minimum, because you could set your virtual memory all the way up to 60 megabyte. I mean, we run 30 to 60 megabytes on those. We used to run 20 to 40, but would still run into sometimes problems when you started having 6 to 8 cards and stuff. So 120 gig solid state if you're going to be running Windows, and then just a standard 4 gig. I think it's the Vengeance LPX, the cheapest one that's out there on Amazon. I think it was like 58, 60 bucks. Memory's expensive right now, so it's only the 4 gig. This machine only has 4 gigs, runs fine. Then there are a couple other things. You need to have 3 120 millimeter fans, because this machine doesn't come with fans. Those are the front fans on the front of the machine, and then there are 5 80 millimeter fans. They're also in the description. The other two kind of weird things, I would call it, is we're running an EVGA 1200 watt P2. These require 8 pin and 6 pins. If you look at the EVGA Supernova, there are just enough. There's two of the 6 pin 8 pin combos that come on that power supply, and then it comes with 4 single 8 pins. So we use this single 8 pin to dual 8 pins, which we split this apart to have a 6 and an 8. Works fine. We do not put more than a higher requirement that's needed on this. So the single 8 pin to the 8 6 pin, you can get them on Amazon. There's little splitters. We have that on the description below too. And then the last weird thing that we got in this thing is with the triple, the 5 fans that are the 80 millimeter, all are 4-pin Molex. They have the pass-through adapter on them. So the actual fan has a 4-pin Molex female and a 4-pin Molex male on the same little adapter. You can daisy chain those. We actually have the 4 on the EVGA 1200 watt power supply that's in here. Comes with a single 4-pin strand that has 4 Molexes on it. 3 of those fans are plugged into that. The 4th one has the other 2 fans plugged into that through the daisy chaining that comes with that. That's the way that power config is. So that one strand powers those 5 fans, and that's no problem. It's not a huge load. They're about 5.5, 8 watts a piece. So well more than enough that fits on that strand. On the triple 120s, those use the little 4-pin pinouts, which the TB250 only has 2. It leaves you with one missing. So what we did instead is we found this little guy here for about $6 on Amazon. It is a 4-pin that plugs into the motherboard and splits you to 3 fan plugins. There's lots of different versions of this out there. There's ones with 2, there's ones with just 1. I don't know why you do that, more than just maybe an extension. Then there are ones that have the 4-pin to a little daughter card that allows you to have 4 other female versions that you can plug the fans into. Any of them will work. It doesn't matter. So we just went with this one because I wanted to have the range to be able to tuck things right. But this is going to be a requirement if you're putting practically any motherboard under in this, short of maybe the Asus Prime, because I think it actually has 3 external fan connectors on it. But you may need to have this adapter. That's one of those things where you kind of put it together and you're like, oh crap, I'm going to need another cable. So we're just trying to make sure you guys know that. That's if you're using the BM-600, that's this case. I personally like it. It makes it pretty easy. It is $100. That's essentially the price point that we have on these that we're going to be listing out there. These hold 8 a lot more efficiently. You know, if you were to do build material costs on that, you're looking more around now these days about $50, $60. So when we put them up on the site and we do some painting and stuff on them, they are going to be a little more because you got time and effort on building them. And that's what you guys are essentially paying for, is the material. We have it put together for you. We'll have a pack of screws and all that kind of stuff for you. And in that case, so this for a 6-card rig is actually going to be cheaper than that at the end of the day. For just the case, if you start adding fans and stuff, now you're going to be at about 130 because the fan packs and then the adapters and stuff, you're going to be about another $30 in those materials. I think it's 11 and then 14 for the fans. And that's the 5-pack and the 3-pack and then the cables. So just to kind of make sure everybody understands that, we can get back to mining real quick before we wrap it up.
How do you power the risers in that thing? Someone asked.
The risers are the EVGA 1200 watt comes with 3 SATA connectors, and we're running 2 of the cards on one of the single SATA strands, and then the other cards are all 2 sets of the cards are on the using 2 risers per SATA strand, and then the other 3 cards are running single riser, single SATA strand. So there's a couple that we're having to do dual with, but more than enough for the EVGA 1200. Again, never put 3 cards on one SATA connector. And never use SATA to 6-pin connector to the top of a GPU. That's bad, because it's going to pull more amps than it's required. And for the folks asking, can we try this with simple mining? If you watch the video that we had on this before, we were doing simple mining. So you can see right here, this is library credits. We're almost at 2 gigahash on library. Not doing too bad there. Digibyte. That thing went dark on us again. About 70 megahash per card on Digibyte. And that's on mirrored crystal. We have not tried it with ETH OS. I haven't done ETH OS in a while.
Talk about your multi-miner and where they can find it.
The multi-miner is located on bitsbetrippin.com. There's actually a link down at the very bottom. It's also on the resource portion of that, and you can also see it on the Discord channel under the resources there too. It's out there. You can pick up the multi-miner. It's not bad for Digibyte. Let's finish up the last few coins here. I'm just looking at different algorithms. A lot of these coins use the same algorithm. Let's check some Pascal, just direct. Got a $5 super chat from Benny Palm 89. Awesome channel. Thanks, bro. Do you mine cryptos full time? We do mine cryptos all the time, but it is one of many different roles that I play in life and society. How many rigs do you run? How long do your rigs stay relevant? Rigs usually stay relevant for usually a year and a half. That's about the turnaround time on most rigs. I think we've been running RX 480s. We're still running RX 480s. The total count of rigs in the whole BBT space is in the triple digits now. That's just between the BBT fam and everybody that I've that work as part of our group. I range in rigs personally, just because I build a lot and then we move a lot over to folks within the BBT fam. But I'm always trying to try out my range of rigs is very different than a lot of other folks, because I buy a lot of things that are not necessarily the best solution, because I want to show you guys what they do. Again, none of this stuff is handed to us by anybody. I purchase all of this stuff. You know, some of the stuff comes from your guys' super chat. Some of the extra hardware and stuff that you guys see, some of the crazier purchases sometimes comes from some of that. We feed all of that money back into the channel to show you guys what things work and what not. But you know, some purchases, like when we were doing like the 460s and some of the 1050s and the R7 240s and all these different things, you know, things that I don't get rid of, we just have, is all purchased from that. So I mean, we have a whole bunch of different rigs, ranging from all those different types of cards and stuff. But yeah, if you're looking at how long rigs are relevant, it really comes down to making your ROI, letting them run strong. As long as you keep them cooled, and don't run their fans at 100%, a rig will last you 18 months plus. Oh, that's a little pop-up thing. I got the look from the wifey like, what is that? Worst that could happen is your machines, if your wood frames could catch on fire. Well, Jillian Seed, that is it's pretty a rare event. There are situations where I've seen people burn up stuff. We personally have not burned up anything running two SATA connectors. I did have, and we did prove and show everybody using the thermal gun that if you plug in 3 risers into a single SATA strand, that you will burn it up eventually and burn up the power supply. I have also seen that if you dual mine with lesser quality PSUs, like if you're running a 580 and you haven't messed with the power savings and you're just giving it full tilt, you're running high clocks, you're running high memory, you're not running any kind of voltage mods, and then you're dual mining with it, that if you run 2 cards on a single SATA strand on 2 risers, there's a good chance that you're going to burn up that cable. So it's about just doing things smartly, and if you're going to dual mine, it's better if you're going to permanently dual mine, not so much with the NVIDIA cards I've noticed, but if you're going to dual mine with the AMD cards, it's better to split it to 2 power supplies and go single SATA strands into each card. So it's better to go with a pair of 750s versus a single 1200. You will have more power, but you can go on a 6 card rig with 2, on a 6 card AMD 580 rig, you go with a pair of 750s and you will have enough SATA strands for 1 per card, and then you're more than safe with the riser. Looks like on Pascal we're sitting there at 1.1 gigahash with these. We're running 224 watts running Pascal, so it's not using that much juice at all. Bits is from the United States. I think one of the last coins I'm going to test here tonight is number 22 SIA coin directly. Looks like this whole rig is popping out a max of 10,000. 11,000. Yeah. And it's using the onboard GPU like a boss. We're actually rocking out the onboard GPU on the processor. Bonus. Let's see what kind of fun that's doing to the Yep. So the SIA coin option is actually using the onboard Intel HD graphics, which is actually maxing out the CPU activity too. That's actually pretty funny. We can see the activity here.
If you have multiple power supplies, how do you break up the power between the equipment and the cards?
It depends on each rig, but the main premise of multiple power supplies is to split the power between the GPUs from the top power connectors on the GPUs to make sure there's a good even distribution, and then evenly distribute it on the powering of the risers between the GPUs. So splitting that power across each of the risers, with the understanding that you're going to pull more power on the power supply that is connected to the motherboard powering the CPU and all that. You're gonna have at least another 80 watts, up to 80 watts being powered by that power supply. So if you come into an odd number, put your odd GPU on the secondary power supply to offset it with the motherboard. Looks like we're getting 11,000 here. But that option number 22 actually maxes out both the PC and the onboard GPUs.
How did you learn your lead skills?
I would say just beyond hours. I mean, the amount of hours that I put into the GPU mining scene.
Trial and error, lots of research.
Yeah, I would just
always trying new things.
Yeah, I mean, just hours upon hours of doing it, guys. I mean, I've been in the GPU mining scene since 2012 when I first started mining. Well, actually, late 2011 when the first series of GPU miners came out. In I think that was the last one. Anyways, we'll get into this. So that was a good question of how did I acquire a lot of the skills and stuff that I have with this. I mean, I probably spend 25 hours at least a week during the week when I actually do other work. I still spend, I mean, I get off that and then I'm probably on doing GPU mining stuff literally almost every day since 2013. Before that, it was probably, maybe 8 to 10 hours a week. Just figuring out stuff with mining through 2012. So troubleshooting,
always
testing.
Have your hands in a rig.
Yeah, I mean, the wife's telling you. I mean, she would know me usually down here playing around with the rigs and stuff, but just the troubleshooting in the space in general. I mean, like you guys, I review a lot on BitcoinTalk.org, the different forums. I look at what people have posted. I do my own research, but I'm more of a, I live next to a state that's motto is the show me state, show me, right? So if I read something and I see somebody's output, then I try to replicate that. And and then sometimes I'm in the bleeding edge of it where I'm the one doing it the first time, or at least I've never read anybody else posting that they've done it. So that's what kind of modeled this into a live stream channel versus just a channel that was just giving you guys episodes. I mean, because editing and all that other stuff is fine. I mean, I was doing it for a long time in 2013, 2014 with putting together episodes for you guys, but this is as real as it gets. You guys are seeing it live on the video. You guys are getting the feed as I do it. And the videos and the proof. I mean, there's no manipulation here. You guys see it. You guys see the outputs plugged in, and you guys should be able to replicate it. at least replicate or give me a different result, saying, hey, I tried that, but it blew up on me. Here's what I had to do to change it. That's that collaborative piece. So I like that. I like that concept of it, and it just allows us to do it together. You know, tonight I was going to wrap this one up, and I was like, let's just go ahead and have a live stream tonight, and let's just see what these things can do. I didn't test them with some of these other algorithms. We got to see that. It's very raw. It's not super efficient. I know some people are like, man, why do I gotta have a 2-hour video with you every time? And it's like, you know, life takes time, man. I mean, when you guys were been on here for an hour and a half, should have been, you know, only an hour video, but we had a lot of technical difficulties in the beginning with the audio and stuff. But, you know, this lets you guys see and maybe pick up some things as we start to talk about it on your builds. So, I think that's the way you do it, and that's what we try to give back to you guys. Do you think about the ROI on liquid cooled cards? I don't use liquid cooled cards that much. I thought about doing a few different builds on it. My issue with liquid cooled cards is if the motor's running all the time on that to keep that thing cycled, I think it's just going to burn up the motor on those liquid cooled cards. I know there's a lot of people that run liquid cooled cards, and I'd love to hear their feedback of how long the motors lasted on them. And when I say the motors, I'm talking the pumps that are actually going to be running at full time 100%, because liquid cooled cards will idle when they're not being used in normal like gaming rigs and stuff. And I think the parts that are created in that are designed for when they're used and when they're not used, and they have a lifespan. I don't know what the lifespan on the pumps, because the pumps are going to run 100% all the time. It's kind of like running a GPU fan 100% all the time. I try everything I can not to have that happen, just because the lifespan on a GPU fan is about a year if they're running at 100%. Sometimes it's a little less. Some I've had that's ran 100% for 2 years, and then the bearings blow out on them. So it's just it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when that pump's going to fail. And when that pump fails and the card, you're just pulling that off, and you're going to have to find a different cooling solution for it. The card's going to be fine, because the cooling solution is going to go south. So you can do it with pumped cards. It's going to save you a lot in heat, because it's just transferring that heat and it's expending it, you know, to reduce it. So there's just, you know, I don't use those type of coolers just because.
Your favorite mining software?
Favorite mining software? I would say it's probably Claymore. The effort that Claymore puts into his miner. I mean, there's a small fee that's built into it. That kind of is whatever. But I mean, how else a guy going to get paid for his effort? He embedded a fee. There's a lot of other people that do a lot of contributions to miners. CC Miner, SG Miner. DTSM is good. There's a few out there, but I think Claymore probably does some of the best. I like the fact that he figured out a way to do dual mining. I'm interested to see the future outputs of other new currencies and coins, and if he looks into putting in other, you know, expanding his horizons to like NIST 5 and a few of the other currencies, and see if we get some versions for those. All right, guys, we'll wrap it up in 4 minutes. I'm going to put us in an hour and 40.
I think we were delayed for like a half hour. 28 minutes, wasn't it?
Yeah, this ended up being I'm your new #1 fan. Thank you, Jason S. Small.
Yeah, it's his first time joining us.
Nice. Yeah, I don't know if anybody in this channel is going to be down there for the North American Bitcoin Conference, but we're going to be down there. It's 17 days from today. I'm super excited about it. We should have I would call it like a promo video of that coming out. I got the team coming over tomorrow. Crypto Ron like a boss, dropping a 50 spotter in. Here's a token of 50 spot for all this channel, and I'm in the process of putting together 5 BM-600s 5 minutes of your time. Drop us a line, Crypto Ron, on bitsbetrippin@gmail.com, buddy, and we'll shoot you a message. Absolutely, you can have some time. If you join us on Discord too, we can always jump into a chat on there. There is audio channels on there. I owe Blueberry that's on this channel right now. I owe him. We're going to be looking at making some adjustments in there too. Hopefully, add some more content, some bots, some welcome bots, that kind of stuff. I want to spend some time on that. Blueberry and the team there does a lot of good, and they're helping everybody out. I do value his efforts and help. We do have that audio channel again in there. Maybe we can start to put some stuff together for folks that do donations like that can, you know, spend a few minutes, and hopefully I can help get something answered for you. Blueberry just dropped that link in there. That's our Discord link, guys. And if you're catching this not on the live stream and you're watching it on the video after, if you go to bitsbetrippin.com or bitsbetrippin.io, both of them resolve there, and you can hit the Discord link in there, and there's some questions and answers in there. All right, guys, I think we're going to wrap this one up. Ron, don't forget to reach out to us, and we'll find some time out there for you, buddy. And then we have a couple good things. I'll close the night out with a couple things this week. So we're going to take a couple where this is going to go, and we have 2 Vega 56s showing up. We're going to be doing at least a 3-card with the ability to expand it to more as we can get some more Vega 56s. But we're going to be putting together a rig. I have one of the other BBT fam coming over. We're going to be putting together potentially a 4-card rig if we can find one more of them, but we're going to at least have the 3 cards, and we're going to do that, set that up for the cast XMR miner. So we're going to do all the settings and updates for that. We'll have that as a stream, so you'll see at least a 4-card or a 3-card build at a minimum, maybe more if we can find some more Vega 56. And then we're going to take you guys through. We've had a lot of questions about older video cards, doing another kind of 2018 rendition of how can older cards mine. We're talking R7 370s, we're talking R9 270s, we're talking just some of the older 1 and 2 gig cards. Can they mine? Can they still mine? Some people have access to lots of them. I'm talking for $20, $30, $40 at a time. Can those old cards mine, and how much power do they use? So if that interests you guys, drop us a yes or no here in the live chat right now. We'll know, but I have a collection of some of the older cards. We're going to put that together. We're going to do a live stream on that, having them in a rig, trying some different algorithms out on a lot of those older cards, just seeing what they do on some of the newer algorithms and what cards can you use in that. Some of these cards you can get pretty cheap. So if that interests you guys.
Since you were talking about that, Carlos was in the chat earlier, the guy from Venezuela, saying how, you know, thanks again for all your help, and how mining has changed his life for him and his family and all that stuff, and that's why you wanted to go back and hit some of those older cards, right? Yeah,
we get a lot of folks that ask, you know, that especially around the world, that do not have access to some of the, you know, like a 1070 Ti. Like, this is great, but this is kind of like top gear, and you got, you know, Chris Harris or you know, even on the top gear on, you know, Amazon, some of the older guys out there with the folks on there doing stuff with Ferraris and stuff, right? I mean, this is the higher end echelon of mining. What about the older cards, right? What about cards that are accessible in, you know, other countries? And, you know, looking at that, a lot of those, maybe just because the way the supply chain works, that some of those cards end up there. There's better deals out there for those. So we do get a lot of questions with some of the older cards, a lot of the R9s in countries that do not have as strong power requirements when it comes to price. You know, so if they have very cheap power, the R9 series is a very good card. It's very capable of a lot of the current algorithms at pretty decent outputs, at the expenditure of a lot more power. So if you can find a whole bunch of 290s, 390s, 380Xs, 390, you know, these handful of cards here is what we're talking about. Is some of these cards, like this Sapphire's a 380X, so we got a 380X here. You know, what's this do? You know, what's a 290 do? What's all these cards do now in the current algorithms with the latest software updates and stuff? And what's their output? So if that interests you guys, we'll definitely do that and show you guys what are some of their options. Because there's a lot of GPUs out there, guys. There's a lot of different brands and stuff out there. So I want to take you guys through that, and it'll be a range of different cards. Probably won't be a lot of links to buy on that one, but I'll give you some options of where you probably can find them. In, you know, some of that's on eBay, Craigslist, that kind of stuff if you're in the States. But we'll do that. Cool, guys. We'll wrap this one up, and stay tuned. There should be at least 2, if not 3 streams by this week that we'll have around that stuff. So stay tuned, like, subscribe, share, and we'll try to bring it to you guys. And maybe this works.